Hey everyone, J-Rod Plays here, and today's video is going to be an LFG guide for the Golgoroth encounter in the Pantheon Atraks Sovereign. This will apply to future weeks as well, but since right now we have the Atraks Sovereign going, I'm only going to really cover specifically some of the things that may go on here. If there's any additional changes in the following weeks, I'll be sure to make an updated video. Since this is going to be the first encounter, we're going to go over the group makeup, and that group makeup is going to carry over into the additional encounters. But since you have to prepare for this one first, of course, this is going to be where you set up your group initially in the LFG. What I would look for is 2 Warlocks, so that you have 2 Wells, 2 Hunters. Usually you're going to have maybe like 1 debuff Hunter and 1 Celestial Nighthawk Hunter. You can try to run, if you're trying to be aggressive on damage, 2 Celestial Nighthawk Hunters, as long as they hit their shots, of course. And then anything else afterwards. You can run Titans, you can run another Warlock. That way they have a well to put down if they're handling the gaze. And those other 2 classes are going to be the gaze classes. You're not going to want your first 2 Well Warlocks to handle the gaze, because you want them in the pit already, and you want them underneath the orbs, the first 2 orbs, where you're going to kind of get your most damage in to try to get that initial clean 2 bubbles. And then if you have a third one, for example, or if that one is running gaze, that one can actually get another bubble. They can take the gaze, hop down in with you, do some damage with you as well. So it depends on how confident those players are that are handling the gaze. If they're a Warlock, if they want to get down in there and drop a Warlock well with you. If it's the Titan characters, that's a good place for the Titan characters, because they can put a barricade to deal with some of the adds to their right that are trying to attack them. The Minotaurs, for example, there's going to be some invisible Minotaurs in this version of Golgoroth, and so the Titans are good for the gaze handling. Now, when it comes to the initial phase, it's just going to be an ad clearing phase. You're going to have 3 people left, 3 people right. You just kill the ads as they come out. They're going to be wizards. There's going to be acolytes, thralls. Acolytes are going to spawn in the center in the pit and come up the stairs. There's going to be an ogre spawning at the back as well, so just be careful. And then there's going to be 2 knights, 2 large yellow bar knights that have a ton of health. So try to kill them if you can with primary. Some people can use heavy that are the gaze people, so you can have the gaze people basically burn down those knights. They're not going to need their heavy for anything else, really, except for protecting themselves, clearing ads, and picking up the gaze. Now, for the people who are picking up the gaze, and for those who are new to the encounter, what the gaze mechanic is, once you've cleared both sides and killed both knights, Golgoroth's back is going to open up and reveal a large yellow area full of pustules. That area is damageable more than Golgoroth's rest of his body. The rest of his body only does like a few hundred damage, but you actually will notice if you shoot the back, that's going to do a ton of damage. And the reason why is because it's to help the person taking the gaze to do enough damage to grab his gaze quickly. Now, what the gaze will do, will end up focusing Golgoroth in his beam, as well as some additional tracking arc orbs to you as the gaze person, and it'll give you a buff on the left side of your screen that you have to count down out loud for the other person taking the gaze off of you to do so. Now, as a gaze person, you're going to have 1 left and 1 right from the front of the room, and when it's time for you to take the gaze, you're going to go up on the platform in the middle, and you're going to shoot him in the back with a high-impact sniper rifle, preferably. Some people try to use Arbalist. It's inconsistent. It'll sometimes do 1 shot, sometimes take 2, and if it takes too long and you don't take the gaze away from the person who's got the countdown in time, Golgoroth's back will close, and then any additional orb that's hanging from the top that you didn't use for damage will then add to the Tablet of Ruin in the center of the room. The mechanic behind the Tablet of Ruin is if the tablet fills up all of its icons all the way to the top, it'll wipe your party regardless. Every time you die, one of those will fill up, and every time you have an unsuccessful damage phase and you don't use all the bubbles, the remainder will fill up depending on how many bubbles are left. So you can't do that very often. You're only going to really have a go 2 or 3 times at it before it ends up wiping you. Now let's get into the weapons that I recommend for both the DPS team and for the gaze holder team. For the gaze holders, I recommend having a good high-impact sniper rifle like I mentioned before. Since it's available right now through Onslaught, the Succession is a very popular role. It usually gets his gaze in 1 shot. You can get a good Reconstruction and Vorpal or Reconstruction and Box Breathing roll. That'll help out quite a bit. For the gaze people as well, I'd recommend running some heavy that you can help clear ads with. Running a machine gun is a really good option because of the high ammo count. If you have a machine gun like Commemoration, that's going to fill its bullets back with the God roll as well. Reconstruction with Killing Tally, for example, is a role that a lot of people are going to have if you've had a crafted one so far. Just any high magazine machine gun, that way you can take care of the Axion darts that come at you. You can take care of the invisible Minotaurs that are going to push you, and in a pinch, say you've got your sniper shot and you switch to your machine gun and you still haven't got the gaze, you can throw a couple machine gun bullets into Golgoroth's back to get the gaze before the timer runs out and you mess up the run. Now for damage dealing, as you see, likewise, I'm also running Succession in the video. My Succession roll is the Reconstruction and Firing Line roll. You can also run Reconstruction Vorpal as well. Just something that's going to be able to reload for you as you're moving around from side to side. You don't have to worry about manually reloading it. So I can take a couple of shots to activate my bait and switch, which I'll be using a bait and switch grenade launcher. The reason I'm running a bait and switch grenade launcher is because right now it's Strand and Void for the burns. So I'm running my Void Edge Transit with the Envious Assassin and bait and switch roll. I don't have spike grenades on it yet. I'm still haven't farmed a good one up that's got Envious with bait and switch and spike. You can also run the deconstruction roll. That's a very good roll as well. The sticky grenades with deconstruction on it. You'll get a ton of grenade as the deconstruction is going to proc for you. And so those are going to be the things that I recommend, is to try to get a void weapon or a strand weapon. Void weapons are the stronger weapons this week. So like Leviathan's Breath, Taipan roll, for example. The Doom Petitioner is another option that you can use. So like linears, snipers, things that are going to do a bunch of damage to the crit spot. For your primary weapon, I recommend running a weapon that can get a bunch of collateral kills, so it helps clear the adds in the pit more quickly, as well as if during the ad rounds, for example, if you push him but don't kill him and you have to deal with a take-in spawn round, they're very easily taken care of by ignitions. I myself was using Graviton Lance for that exact reason, so you will get your initial kill, and then Graviton Lance spawns additional void explosions that are going to chain, so that way one ad kills another ad, kills another ad, kills another ad, and the next thing you know, you're clear. Because even though your focus is on damage, you still want to make sure that if you're starting to struggle a little bit with a bunch of ads ganging up on you, in between popping the bubbles, you want to try to take out the Taking Shielded Cabal, so that way they can't boop you out of the pool. You want to try to make sure the Thralls don't stack up on you, and the Cursed Thralls don't stack up on you, so that way your team can go from bubble to bubble and not get harassed too much. This week we were also getting the Class Warfare buff, so that way when we're moving from pool to pool, it was important for people to pop their dodge, pop their barricade behind the group, and pop their Healing Rift / Empowering Rift, depending on what you're running for rifts. So that way you get that buff. It stacks up to 3 times. I think it's 10%, 15%, and 20% on the stack, so it's very well worth it to do that. And if you can coordinate a good stack and keep the stacks going as you're going through there, then you'll be able to set up kind of a rotation where you're always having at least 10% buff going up to 20%, like we said. Now, another major difference in this, besides having the additional ads, having stronger ads at the end, that Minotaur for the gaze people, is actually having another unstable person. So when you're in the pool, every few maybe 10 or 15 seconds after you get the pool there, you're going to notice an unstable light buff pop out. That unstable light buff will kill anybody next to that person with unstable light. It'll also kill your gaze people if you get too close to them. So it's important to coordinate where you're going to be taking the unstable light buff. When we first started doing this, what we were doing was just having one person go to Golgoroth and one person running away. However, I found out later on you can actually space the 2 people on either side of Golgoroth. So we'll say one person's going to go right and one person's going to go left, and as long as you get your spacing right, you will actually be able to hit Golgoroth with both of the unstable lights, and nobody will die. So as long as you're careful not to get too close to the person who is trying to take gaze, and as long as you're able to say, okay, well, I'm going to go right, I'm going to go left, you just call it out as you're getting unstable. So like, I have unstable, I'm going right, I have unstable, I'm going left. You'll be able to get that spacing, and you'll be able to get 2 unstables on Golgoroth, and both people will stay alive. So that's something that you want to try to do. Even in LFG, you want to try to say, if somebody gets unstable, one person go right, one person go left. Try to get your spacing practice in, so that way you can make sure that you're taking advantage of the additional damage to help you get through either a 1 phase of all of the 6 bubbles, or to guarantee the 2 phase, because you can still get the bonus time with the 2 phase if you're quick. Since especially once you get the all 6 bubbles and you go into the next spawn, you can actually go right back and get ready, preparing the first bubble, take Golgoroth's gaze back right away, dealing with the taken round, and just have one person going around clearing the ads while the other 5 deal with the 2 gazes and then the people in the pit. So that'll leave 3 people in the pit dealing with damage. Now you can designate this person ahead of time to say, you know, hey, if we do a second phase, I'm on ad clear and bubbles, or you can just kind of do it reflexively. I was the one just on my own. I took initiative on my own to do the ad clear a little bit and to deal with trying to get the bubbles down sooner. I would leave the bubble early after I got my damage in, and I would make sure that the next bubble was ready to drop, just so that my teammates didn't have to worry about it too much. They didn't have to struggle too much mentally. They just kind of stay alive, do damage, stay alive, do damage. That really helped out in a lot of the runs. But once you bring it all together and you don't have a lot of deaths to contribute to the Tablet of Ruin mechanic, you don't have a lot of deaths on your gaze people. The gaze people are strong enough to learn how to survive, and not only survive, but being able to kill their Minotaur, kill the Axion darts, make sure that Golgoroth is positioned appropriately toward the group, and kind of organize that person to where maybe they can even jump down into the pit if they get good enough at it and help do a little bit of extra damage, even if it's just primary. That's something that you try to strive for, is to get that rhythm going with your group so that you can get it killed, and you can get it killed within the bonus time. And again, for the gaze people, please, please, please point Golgoroth toward the group. So many times you get a person who are one of the two gaze people who just struggle with the idea of, okay, I've got to get behind Golgoroth on this bridge, and then I've got to book it to the very opposite side of the people doing damage, so getting behind the damage team, and then the other person has to do the same thing. They have to go behind Golgoroth, and they have to go back to the next bubble, so they have to preemptively say, where is this next bubble going to be? Alright, this is where I'm going to stand, and this is where Golgoroth's going to be. I have to stand here and make sure that Golgoroth is facing the right way, because it's so annoying when you get there and you're set up and everybody just waiting, and your person that's doing the gaze is just oblivious and is dealing with their Axion darts and dealing with not trying to get killed by Golgoroth, but they're not pointing him in the right direction. So it's like you're not doing anything, you're wasting time. So make sure if you're the gaze person, you point Golgoroth correctly towards your group. Sometimes you have to be slightly to the right of your group to get Golgoroth to make that full turn. So just keep that in mind, and that's your priority first, is to get his gaze, make sure you keep your count, and while you're keeping your count, you're going to make sure Golgoroth is pointed directly, that open crit spot, directly at the people in the bubbles, and rotate with them from bubble to bubble, while the other person is going to be paying attention to getting the opposite of you, getting ready to take the gaze for the next count. So, for example, if I'm sitting in the front where the flag is, and that's where Golgoroth is pointing, the other gaze person needs to be on the bridge on the other side, directly from me, getting ready to shoot that person in the back when I have about 2 seconds left, so that way, just in case they don't get it right away, they can swap to the other weapon real quick, and that prevents Golgoroth's back from closing up and adding to the Tablet of Ruin and filling up the tab really fast. Now, just another minor couple of things. If you get Golgoroth past a certain point in his health, I think it's like halfway, you will see a change in the ads. They'll change from spawning regular Hive to spawning Taken, and those Taken are going to be the Taken Knights, the Taken Phalanxes, and Taken Thrall, and they're going to push you really fast. So that's, again, an ad clear person, like one person who's going to be dealing with bubbles and ads. You're going to want to make sure you're doing that. If you have like a good melee ability that's going to ignite a bunch of them, you want to pop that as they group up on you. If you get your well again from the Well Warlocks, you're going to want to pop your well so that you can just live through a lot of them hitting you and flinching you. But again, try to help out. Try to clear ads. If you see Axion darts and you can hit them on the way going to your gaze people, take out those so that they have less of an issue to deal with. Taking Minotaurs will be pushing you as well, so keep an eye on those. They're invisible. They can cause some deaths if they get into the group and you don't see them until they're right in front of you and you hit them with a grenade launcher. If you're doing grenade launcher DPS like I was doing, that's one thing to worry about. Also, if you're in the well, please, again, out of respect for your teammates, once you get into the well, if you're in the front, duck down. If you're in the back, do not strafe left and right when doing damage. Just stand completely still, because if you strafe left and right, you're going to force that person to have to move a little bit and flinch. That person's going to move and get in front of somebody else doing grenade launcher damage, and then they're going to die. So you're going to want to make sure that when you get down there, you find your spots. Try to stay in the same spot in each bubble so that everybody kind of knows where you are. If you're trying to run in late, don't run in the front, run into the back. And if you need to hop up and down a little bit to get your grenade shot over somebody because they're not ducking in the front like they should be, do that as well. Just try not to get in there and cause somebody else a death to add to the tablet, one less res. Just don't be that guy, right? Try to make sure that as you being the person who has the wherewithal to even look at an LFG guide like the one you're watching right now, that you also have the wherewithal to protect your teammates from themselves and try not to contribute to anything that can cause additional stress or anything that's going to be a distraction to your team while you're trying to reach your goal of knocking the boss down. Other than that, as long as you put all these things together, as long as you're clearing the wizards in the back when they spawn on the first spawn round, killing the ogre so it doesn't run wild, not standing out in the open so that you can get shot by Golgoroth and being a distraction that way, not making it difficult on your gaze people by taking Golgoroth's attention and then pointing him in a direction that is not conducive to where you need the bubble to be. That was something that we were dealing with, was somebody would like have Golgoroth shooting at them, and instead of standing in a way that the first person that's going to take the gaze needs to be directionally, they were standing opposite so that the other gaze person has to pick up the gaze, and that kind of threw some of the gaze people off, having the one person take it versus the other, because we had like a little rhythm going. So just be cognizant of that. As long as that's a little cleared up, or as long as you can have somebody willing to speak up on like, hey, try to make sure that you're hiding from Golgoroth so that he's pointing in the right direction when you're getting ready to start DPS. That's another thing to clean up. And again, try to make sure you're not pushing people out the pool. That's one thing that I ran into with a lot of LFGs, was people were hopping in and they were pushing people and they were pushing them out the pool. And so then you're there unloading all your heavy, and if you're not paying attention, instead of doing, you know, tens of thousands of damage, hundreds of thousands of damage, you're doing like 500 damage per shot because you're not in the pool and you're not getting the additional buff that allows you to even do damage to Golgoroth in the first place. Space your unstable lights out. Call your unstable lights out. Have somebody always ready to say unstable light coming out once you hit a new pool. And if you can do that, and you can have that organization, even with people who you never met before, you're going to be able to get this encounter done pretty reliably. It's the easiest encounter out of the four, in my opinion, when it comes to the amount of mechanics that are in there. There's really only clearing ads, standing in the pools, dealing with unstable for a DPS person. For the gaze person, it's just helping clear ads off the guys in the bottom, clearing ads for yourself, and then passing the gaze off and counting it. The other encounters get a little bit more complicated because you have more moving parts in the Caretaker, for example, and in the Macrocosm encounter when you're doing planets. So take advantage of the simplicity of the encounter. Thanks very much for watching to the end. I appreciate all my new subscribers. My current subscribers, same thing. I appreciate you guys sticking with me. I've got videos coming still for Caretaker and Macrocosm, so keep a lookout for those, and I'll see you guys in the next one.